Good morning. Good morning and welcome. Welcome to Magic in Mind. My name is Maggie Rose Cunningham and I am your host today for our New Moon Oracle session. It is October 2024 and this new moon, the Anglo-Saxons used to call it the Harvest Moon. And as people are coming in, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my thoughts on harvest at this point and the energy of harvest. I don't know about you, but I think there were sort of two harvest rituals as a child that were dominant in my life. And one of them was going out to collect blackberries or getting apples from the garden, and then my mum would make them into fruit stews and things like that. And there was something really special about them because of the fact that we knew that we'd gathered them ourselves. It felt like that celebration, and to me, there's a participation there. There's sort of participation in self-nourishment. It's very, very empowering. And then the second ritual that that I was familiar with was from school, and we used to have the Harvest Festival. Do you do the Harvest Festival at your school or in your community? And the way that what I remember was we used to bring in we still used to bring in fresh produce. You can't do that now in harvest festivals. It's always like tinned or sealed so that it can be passed on. But we did used to have fresh produce, and it would all come in, and there would be tins as well, and it would all be piled up on this huge stage. At one point, I'm sure that we went to church to do this, but most often it was in the school hall. And there would be this enormous loaf that had been commissioned. And it was shaped like a big wheat sheaf with all of the individual bits of wheat all sort of tied together, bound together. And the thing is, I don't remember ever tasting that loaf or participating in any of the harvest produce that was offered. And I think to a certain extent we can say, well, that's because our harvest festivals have changed slightly. So often what we're doing is we're giving gratitude for what we have received, and we're saying there are others who could receive the same, and it's a thanksgiving in that sense, that you give your food so that other people can experience it at the same time. But I don't know, that sort of big loaf never looked to me as it was intended to be eaten. I can't imagine the staff sort of cracking it open in the staff room afterwards and spreading butter all over it and going, oh, let's eat that. We never had the experience of seeing somebody else consume the food, and I think that was the difference for me. So I'd love to hear from you what rituals of harvest have been present for you in your life, and whether they supported you in being an active participant in the process of nourishment, whether it was self-nourishment or somebody else, or whether they were somehow symbolic. And I think that that's important, like particularly for children, because in order for us to understand the symbol, we need to understand the emotion behind it. We need to have a visceral experience in order to then say, okay, now I understand what harvest is all about. And I can see that, Suzanne, you're saying we took it and gave it to the elderly. So there's a participation, isn't there, like in the cycle, that means that we are part of this process of harvest. I can see that people are sort of coming in now. So for those of you who are just coming in now, or you literally just popped in, we're talking about harvest, and we're talking about the rituals of harvest and how they can support us in participating in self-nourishment or the act of nourishing others, and how sometimes they can divorce us from that process, so that we sort of see all of the abundance and all of the food, but we don't really understand where it's come or where it's going. On a visceral level or a tangible level. So people are just sharing that as you come in, and lovely to see you. So whether you're joining me live, and welcome to those of you who are here joining me live, or whether you're joining the replay, let me know as you come in, what are the rituals of harvest that you remember. And we've got love going strawberry picking. And Grace says, we always made Thanksgiving feasts and talked about the harvest. So yes, there's a participation there, isn't there? There's a participation in the creation of that process. And I know actually some things are very, very difficult now because we're much more mindful of food allergies, intolerances. So it can actually be much harder to facilitate children participating in these processes than it used to be. But I do think that that's important. And I wanted to bring this up because this month we have a very, very strong dominant energy of gratitude. So not only is it the harvest time, but we have this dominant energy of gratitude because we have a new moon in Gebo coming up. So this Gebo is the rune of gift giving, of exchange, of promises, of thanks, of gratitude. There it is. It's like the little kisses on the bottom of a birthday card, that symbolize gratitude. So we've got our new moon in Gebo. We also have the sun, Sun's chariot, in Gebo, the rune of gift giving and exchange, and we have Odin's chariot, Mercury, in Gebo, in the rune of gift giving and exchange. So this energy of gratitude is important. So we're going to move on a little bit now from thinking about harvest to thinking about gratitude, remembering what I was talking about this idea of do the rituals that we participate in that are offered to us allow us to engage physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually in the act that they are seeking to initiate us into. The act of harvest, in this case, of reaping, drawing in, and all of the work that comes before that, and of giving out into the world, and also of receiving for ourselves, so self-nourishment and the nourishment of others. So I'm going to go slightly off-piste on this one, but there's a reason for this. So I wanted to talk about this energy of gratitude and participating in the energy of gratitude, which is part of that energy of harvest. And I'm reminded of the book by Dr. Masaru. It's Emoto, isn't it? Emoto, that's his name. The Hidden Messages of Water. Or in water, I should say. And he talks about the strongest emotional response that water has. And if you haven't read the book, it's really interesting. You should absolutely read it. It talks about the way in which water crystals form in response to words, energies, emotions, and that they are different. They respond differently. So the strongest emotion, you might say, that water responds to and produces the most beautiful, most exquisite, most well-formed crystals is not love, as we might think it is. It's gratitude. So love is, it's strong in there. It's like the second best one. But gratitude is the one that really holds the juice. It comes through. And if we bear in mind that we are beings that are made up, the highest percentage of stuff in us is water. This ability to resonate out and receive gratitude is really, really important for our health and for our well-being, and for what I would call our mojo, like our magical mojo, our ability to attract good fortune to ourselves, to attract vitality to ourselves, to be energized, to be in flow, to be able to offer our best selves to the world. So I wanted to think about gratitude, and I want to do a little bit of a different harvest with you here today. And I'm going to invite you to, if you don't have a little a notepad or something, grab your notepad now. If you're watching the video and you're not here live, you can always pause me if you don't have your notepad, because I'm going to get you to do a couple of little exercises where we're going to look at gratitude and the energy of gratitude through the lens of all 5 parts of the magical self. And then we're going to go into looking at your runes that you have for the month. So we're doing our stay and play session for people who are here live, and welcome to all of you. People are still arriving, so lovely to see all of you here. We're going to do that. We're going to do our live rune readings, but what we're going to do is an exercise that we can all do together today around feeling into gratitude from the 5 parts of the magical self, working on the basis that doing this work and resonating with gratitude for all 5 parts of the magical self will empower, enhance and enhance each of them, and help us to harvest all of the work that we have put into them as well. So we're going to start with the sage. So the sage part of you is the part that that curates learning, memory, that creates legacy as well. So there's a building function, there's a ritual function, it curates ritual. So all of these things around, like the harvest festival, for example, the sage would be interested in replicating what had happened in the past and bringing it forward, so that that legacy, that knowledge, that precious knowledge, is passed on through the generations. That's the job of the sage, to do that. So I'd like you to have a little bit of a play into, if you feel back over, you could do it over the last month, 6 months, a year, you know, we're harvesting after all. What are the things that you would like to, like, offer gratitude to, that your sage self is saying, oh yes, you know, I loved it when, you know, I loved it when you sat down and read a book, you know, and it was quiet and it was peaceful, and you could hear the weather outside, you know, all of those things. Or I loved it when, or I love it when you find a word of the day. You know, I really like just having like that word of the day that you do. You know, some people I've got on Instagram, they will share like a weird word, like an archaic word. I enjoy that. My sage enjoys that. You know, I love a little bit of etymology. You know, you can't go wrong with looking up the origins of word, can you? So my sage really enjoys that. Or your sage might say, I loved when you went back over the box of the memories that you had from the past. My dad has just done that recently for me. He has bought me this little, have I got it here? I've got it here. Oh, I forgot that I got it here. So he brought this little pile here. Now this he found in a box. That's me there at school. And let me see here. Happy eggs, must have been Easter there. All of these are things that I sent to my grandmother, and he found them when he was clearing out her house a long time ago now, and he's kept them all of these years, and he found them and he was like, oh, I should send those back to Maggie. And it is such an amazing gift. There she is, Iris Renee Newton. There's a little letter that I sent to her, because these things are not things, in a lot of cases I don't remember putting these to her. I don't remember creating this book, which is a book about Nanny, but I couldn't do my B's and my D's the right way around. I'm dyspraxic and they were always the wrong way around. And it's all about her. Like, this is me. I've got a picture of her there. So then my sage self loves this, and I have such gratitude for that. So my invitation to you is to create a space on your page and feel into what are the things that you offer gratitude for your sage. I'm quite glad I had that little pile under there. I've forgotten that. And you'll know when there is actual like gratitude present there, because you'll get that little tingly feeling inside, like in the heart. It will feel like your heart's opening up a little bit, or your belly might flutter ever so slightly. Now I'm going to put a caveat on this, which is, if you are in need of a lot of healing, if you're having a really difficult time right now, if you are holding a huge weight of responsibility, it can be very, very difficult to feel those flutters of gratitude. And what can happen then is that we can fall into those repetitive rituals that the sage will continue to repeat if the other parts of the magical self aren't present. So we don't get that little visceral body response, because there's so much in our body. There's so much like stress in our body, or trauma in our body, or energy in our body of stuff that we're holding. So if you don't get a flutter at any point, don't assume that there's something weirdly wrong with you. You know, you might say, actually, I need to do some clearing right now, because if I don't do that clearing, I can't harvest the nourishment of my soul. Lots and lots of ways in which you can do that, start that process of releasing. Now, through this sort of time we've just had the autumn equinox, it wasn't just about harvesting, it was also about releasing and letting go of. If you look at the autumn, the trees, and letting their leaves fall, that's about releasing. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, I'm not getting lots and lots of stuff. There could well be a reason for that, you know, and it might be that you will need to work with somebody or get some support in some way for that. So have a little feel with your sage. What are people getting? Let me know what you're getting in the chat. I can see that Lisa's saying we took things to school and church for donations to the community. But one of my aunts had a farm that we had a harvest celebration at. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? And it is, I think, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is reclaiming the rituals of the hearth. It's recognizing that I'm not saying that the sacred isn't found within temple spaces or church spaces. It absolutely is. But it's not just found there, is it? It's recognizing that the sacred is all around us. And for me, reclaiming the sacred hearth is massively important, and also one of the ways in which we participate. Now, rather than become spectators or audience, which can happen in a lot of our like public ritual spaces now. And Suzanne, you're saying gratitude journaling is fabulous. Now, gratitude journaling is really interesting because that will activate your sage, but it will also activate your seer. That process of journaling, which allows particularly if you're you're comfortable accessing your wild voice, then what will happen is that voice will rise from the belly and it will come up and it will come out, and your seer will speak through your sage. That is a massive act of self-healing for your seer. That is your sage honouring your seer's words by doing that. So I agree. I think journaling, particularly when we feel like I'm just doing it for me, there isn't anyone else present, I'm not thinking about anybody else reading this, is a really important healing step. It's like witnessing ourselves. And then offering that out into the world is the next healing step, but we do that later. So journaling can fit within the sage. It can also fit within the seer. And Grace is saying, the sage loves when I learn all the new things and make it a point to complete my daily rituals. Interesting there, yes. And I would say, again, here you've got a blend. And there's nothing wrong with a blend. A blend is good because then we can get these sort of uber moments where we can say, no, I've just nurtured my sage. But also for you then with the learning, when I learn new things, you're also nurturing your mystic, the part that's looking into the future and saying, I want to learn and change and grow and evolve. And your sage is then bringing that in and saying, okay, well, in order for the magician to go on and actually do anything with the learning, or for the healer to go on and do anything with the learning, or for the seer to internalize that and bring that in, I'm going to process that. And it's the sage who supports that processing act of saying, like, the new stuff, it's all shiny, it's brilliant. What is my process of learning? What's my process? What's my ritual of learning that works for me? It's part of your sage work. So we can give gratitude to our sage for that, the part that they play in the process of learning and integration and transformation as well. Absolutely completing all of your daily rituals. There's a satisfaction there, isn't there? There's a satisfaction of doing it. I always give gratitude to my magician self for doing the washing up, because I hate doing the washing up. It's only activating the magician. Maybe the healer a little bit, but no, the healer just gets stressed by it, Oh, it's all this stuff. The magician's like, right, I'm doing something about it. So I always give gratitude to my magician for that, because the rest of my magical self always feels better once that is done. And Grace has also loved sharing knowledge and providing people with information on resources they need. Absolutely. And that, again, is the sage passing on legacy. Passing on the legacy of what you have learned and sharing that with others, curating legacy, an incredibly important part of the sage self. Suzanne saying, I love doing my morning rituals of protection and connection. Also just started my new morning readings. Ooh. Again, we've got the seer strong in there too. And rituals of protection and connection can bring in the magician self, who's setting those boundaries, and also the healer self of saying, okay, the energy isn't quite right, I want to bring in that harmony, can bring in the healer as well. So we've got some great sage stuff. Keep it coming, keep it coming. We're going to move on to the healer now. So we've got space for your healer on your pad. I want you to think about the healer as the part that connects with the outside world. So this can be connections to other people, it can be connections of relationship, but broadly it is connection with systems. It's a deep, deep understanding of systems. So you can have ecosystems that the healer connects with and says, okay, that needs to be moved over here, or this is I'm actually communing with this ecosystem, with the spirits of place, or recognizing that this plant is not meant to be here. What are we going to do about that to help this ecosystem to be in balance? What's absent within this ecosystem? So you can have weather systems as well. You can have IT systems. You can have even language. You can have language systems as well. So anything that is a system that we work with and interact with, groups of people. Healer is so present with them. If you're somebody who can walk into a room and you can feel like, oh, that's off right there, that's your healer. So we might think about what is it that our healer offers us and loves. When we're in the healer mode, what is it that we really, really love? Is it connection with other people? Is it, I love gardening, anything to do with gardening, or cooking I really enjoy as well. There's a bit of magician in there too, but probably gardening for me is the big one for my healer, where I feel that while I'm working with my garden, it's healing with me at the same time. So it's a real participatory, collaborative, let's say. It's a collaborative process. Anything that involves self-healing. So anything where you're doing your self-healing work is also a really strong part of the healer. And you can learn a lot about what your relationship with your healer is if you're somebody who's like, I'm all about the giving. You know, I'm absolutely, I love being out there. I love like running the toddler group, or I love offering my Reiki healing or my rune healing to other people. I love to do that. But you don't have anything on your list that is around, I love to be like, have that moment of self healing, of really like deep communion with myself, and to channel the energies that I need in and to nourish myself. Then that might be a little bit of imbalance for you with your healer that you might want to look at. So what have we got here? Lisa says, I always enjoy the saying, say another week on Shetlands for words. Oh, sorry, I've just been silly. Yes, so say another week on Shetlands for words. Understood. So yes, it is. And that's the sage. It's really nurturing the sage there. And Healy, you're saying my healer, Suzanne, saying my healer loves connecting with body systems like chakras and with solfeggio. So, oh yes, the solfeggio sounds is beautiful. So again, the healer, this is something that I didn't bring in, but it's very important for the healer. Music, massively part of the repertoire of the healer. Listening to music, participating in music, singing, having a sound bath, all of those things, totally healer. So you might look at that and say, okay, yeah, I can feel that system of music flowing around me. Healer's also quite like tidying. You know how I was saying about the washing up? So it's my healer that goes, this room is awful, I can't bear it. You know, it needs to be changed instantly. And it's only because my healer really does not enjoy the washing up that my magician takes over at that point. But our healer self can absolutely, you know, when we're, what is it that I need to do to create the hearth space, or to create this space? I think a beautiful partnership between your healer and magician there. And you're right, Grace, so music can be the mystic too. And there are certainly, as I've said, there are very potent activities that you can do, that you can say, okay, this will really nourish more than one aspect of my magical self, and then I will feel that energy of gratitude, and it will resonate out of me in a fabulous, wonderful, delicious, intoxicating vibration that others will pick up on as well. And that pleases our healer self too, doesn't it? So yeah, let's have a little look then. Let's look at the seer. So we've talked about readings already, that's come up. Journaling as well comes up for the readings. Anything that's to do with wild voice writing for the seer, it's important. Seership with the runes. Got a masterclass coming up on seership with the runes coming later. Really, any work that you do, I was talking about when our energy can become so clogged that we can't feel, we don't have access to our intuitions or to our instincts. When we do have access to those intuitions and instincts, we can really play with our seer. So one of the things that I've been doing is the feeling into the body, you know, where you say whether I've got a little bit of food, do I want to eat the food, yes or no, and your body will sort of rock towards it or rock back. There's various different techniques that you can use to start to work with your body to tune into your seer's wisdom. And then that sense of really being in partnership with your seer. You know, I feel so much healthier when I'm really listening to my seer's voice saying, this is what you want and this is not. You know, the seer does that. So when we listen to our seers and we give ourselves permission to do the things that we absolutely love, it's always my seer that says, you know, jump in the car and go to like the Danish camp, which is quite close to me, or to the Swiss garden, or to the RSPB, and go out in nature. And my mystic goes, yeah, thanks. You know, because mystic is really strong for me, but it's my seer that prompts that and says, you need this now. Never regret listening to the voice of my seer. Never do. My life would be so totally and utterly dull if I didn't listen to my seer. You know, if you've got high access to seer, then I'm guaranteeing you've got an exciting life. Other people might say, is, being the best accountant in the entire universe, the most exciting life ever. But if it's for you and your seer tells you it is, then it's going to feel excitement for you, because suddenly your vibration is going woo, because you're excited. You're like, this is like, life is great. So your seer is so important for that making decisions. Suzanne says, I ignored her last night and had a pudding I didn't want. You and me, Suzanne, you and me every time. Sometimes I'm really on a roll and my seer's like, you want this and not that, and then I have it and I'm like, I feel brilliant. And other times that like the little victim part of me, or the part of me that grew up believing that food was actually love, gets in the way, and my seer's like, you don't really want that. And my little child is going, I do, it's going to make me feel good. And then have it and it doesn't. It's very sad. But yes, trusting the seer, so important. And we can really sense that that made me feel great. That comes from the seer. So we've got what we've got left. We've got the magician. So we've talked a little bit about the magician, that sort of active part of us. And the magician is brilliant at finishing things. Let's really give gratitude to our magicians. I think that the magician can get such a bad rap as being, out there, like aggressive, dominant, controlling, trying to do all of the stuff all of the time. Also, if we are in overwhelm, if we're feeling burnout, then we can feel very resentful towards the magician, which is the doing part of the self. But obviously we absolutely need that doing part of the self. It's not that we want to push down that doing part of the self and say, no, get down there. We want to raise the others up to say, okay, if I follow my seer's instinct and I replenish, or I do my work with my healer, or I go out there and I sort of learn new ways of doing things, then the magician has got so much more to work with. It's balance. It's having that balance. So we can absolutely feel that sense of gratitude when I completed the project. Remember I said this year I completed the project of 7 years, which has been creating all of the oracles for all of the birth runes reports that I do, so that they're there. That's taken me 7 years to finish that, and I am so grateful to my magician for keeping me going through that. So finishing things and things like the symbol rite, creating your to-do list. But I think about it as a sacred to-do list. This isn't I've got to do that and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. It's the things that you go, this is what I'm here for. These are the intentions that I set for myself, because they are absolutely aligned with who I am, with the purpose that I have in the world, with what I want to receive from this life, and then we let the magician run with that. It's so powerful to do that with our magicians. Saying no is also part of the repertoire of the magician. Your seer might be like, I want to say no to this, I want to say no to it, but can I? And the magician is a bit like, in the past, I would have said yes to this thing that you've just asked me to do, but I know better now, and I will be saying no. If you would like me to help you to brainstorm how else you can get this thing done that you have been placing on my shoulders without pretty much any consideration for the longest of times, I am more than happy to help you brainstorm, but I will not be doing that again. And sticking with it. That's the magician, that ability to say no and to hold boundaries, and then committing. And this is where we need to get that balance. So if you're a bit like, I'm doing too many things and it's too much, then it's your magician that needs that help and that support to be able to say, okay, what permission does the magician need to be able to say no, that it can then say yes to the things that are actually yours to do. So what are the things that you feel and you think, oh yeah, over the past, what was that thing that I was asked to do and then I didn't do it, and how much lighter does it make me feel? Even if it was something that you were quite looking forward to, that you sort of thought you should have done and then you didn't do it, and if it makes you feel lighter, then let's give thanks to our magicians for that. So they do that, they hold our boundaries for us, they create our magical spaces for us, they do all of those things, and we give thanks to the magician for that. So what fills you with joy? Finishing the woolly jumper that you were making, or the crochet project, or digging the bed in the garden. It's not always the healer. The healer might be like, I'm inspired in this moment, I will do the thing, but then their attention has gone somewhere else because they've noticed something else that needs to be done. Anyone guilty of that? And it's the magician that says, no, finish this one first. So we say, we give our thanks to the magician as well. Maggie says, I said no to the cat sitting because it relieved. I said no to cat sitting because it relieved my energy. Yeah, absolutely. Now it's these things that are very important. So we give thanks to our magicians for that. And then our final one is the mystic. And again, the mystics come up a little bit. So we've talked about learning, haven't we? It can also be like visiting new places, finding out new things, trying something, trying a new food out. Brings in the sage a little bit as well. Oh, this is a new memory for me to explore. Brings in the seer of, do I actually like it? So the mystic goes, I'm going to try it. The seer goes, do I like it? And the sage goes, record that away for future reference, whether or not I like it, to do that. And the magician might say, do you want me to get you some more? So they can go around, but it's the mystic that says, let's try the new thing. Let's innovate, let's be creative. If you enjoy, as a child, like imaginary play, oh my children, I spent hours working with their imaginary games. And I think to myself, were my imaginary games this boring? That's an awful thing to say, isn't it? But honestly, if I have to invent another Pokemon on the way to school and then go through all of its characteristics, it takes the entire school trip to decide on the Pokemon so that we can sort of race them at the very finish as we get to the school gates. I love them, but I swear to God that my imaginary friends are more interesting than theirs. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm sure that my mother was thinking exactly the same thing when I was like, la 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 la. But this exploration of the realm of the imagination is so important. If you go and see something like you go and see a film, if you're doing it because you're watching a franchise that you've really enjoyed, then it's probably a little bit of your sage there going, oh, I'm going to enjoy watching the next one. But if it's something that you've never seen, if you're trying a new genre, if someone has said, oh, go and try this out, or you're going to see, go to the ballet or theatre or anything like that, that's explore, is your mystic. You might have doing drum journeys. You might be coming on the star crafting challenge with me at the moment and learning new things that way. That can indulge your mystic a little bit. And we have the mystic retreat coming up as well. So if you're a bit like, oh, no, I'd like to really lean more into this. The mystic is the part of you that journeys into other worlds. And those can be imaginary worlds, but they can also be the other realms, and go into other realms with them as well. I mean, I couldn't be without my mystic. I'm so grateful for my mystic. It's just, probably like the centre of my life, and certainly my work now is through my mystic. There's thanks, mystic. So again, what comes up for you with the mystic races? I agree, I had more way and interesting ones than Pokemon. And my children do invent their own Pokemon, which I think is very, it's very good of them. They're not like, we'll always go with the same ones, but still. And since I was working with a magician last week, the mystic then took over, and I got new stuff that was blending from past stuff. And that's what we really want. It's when they will blend seamlessly. This process of offering gratitude in this way of really digging into this and saying, what is it that I love? What sets my soul on fire? Is we disaggregate them in order to do that. But then that also helps them to flow. So that you might say, well, actually, I was relying really heavily on my magician and my healer, which is why I'm really knackered. Might come through. How do I raise up the others within that? Or I was relying really heavily on my sage and not trusting my seer. All the other way around. My seer, my intuition, I want to go with that because I've been, I've got almost like a backlash to the sage because I've been told for so long that, I don't know, I'm not clever, or my handwriting wasn't good enough, whatever it is. And therefore I'm put off from any form of intellectual pursuit because of the way in which that, the judgment that we can get, the criticism that we can get. So it's sort of recalibrating their relationship through that. Carol says the mystic lives very much in me. So I hope that you have found that fun as a process of harvest, and a process of gratitude that honours the energy of autumn for those of you in the northern hemisphere, of harvest, but also whichever hemisphere you're in, this energy of Gebo that's come through with our three runes. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit. I still enjoy imaginary worlds. Yes, indeed. And sometimes, I think we were talking about this in the Star Crafting Challenge, I was talking about this with somebody. The imaginary friends of my childhood are the power animals that I work with now. Different form, I didn't recognise it for many years, and then I was like, oh, I'm such an idiot. So who is to say where those boundaries between what's going on, where do we end and the outside begin? We're permeable beings, aren't we, at the end of the day? So let's reclaim the word of the imagination to not mean fantasy necessarily. Okay. So just a few bits for you on runic astrology for the coming month. If you want to go deeper, if you want to take a deeper dive into runic astrology, then you'll want to join Sooner Star Wheel, the online, Sooner Star Wheel online, because I've done a video which will be going out, I think tomorrow, I want to say, maybe the day after, ahead of the new moon, which takes you through all of the planetary movements, and we look at all of these together. But what I did want to mention was that, so we've got our new moon in Gebo, and then we have our full moon in Manaz, which is the rune of the divine sovereign self, the divine human, you might say. So there's a real sort of standing in power, being in your own power, standing in confidence, which is why harnessing this Gebo energy is really important, because otherwise we arrive at that full moon going, oh, I'm tired. I don't feel like a sovereign. Yeah. So we want to be galvanizing that, so that by the time we get to the full moon, we are feeling that sense of, I'm feeling more power, I'm feeling stronger in my body, I'm feeling that sense of purpose and moving forward for myself. Really powerful time to do that. There are 3 planets in retrograde, and Thor's chariot will also be entering retrograde. So the slow moving planets, which affect collectively what's happening, like sort of to humanity in general, are all in retrograde. So the energy, especially what's happening outside of ourselves, may feel slow, frustrating. Why can't we get through this? Really, has the world learned nothing? We're just might really find it. We might find it quite difficult to stand in our sovereign selves through this time. So as you've been working through this sort of this process of feeling into the magical self and feeling which parts feel strong and which parts might where I might need a little bit of where's some challenge, where's the challenge coming through? Remember to ask yourself the question, where can I get support? Because the sovereign self, the true sovereign, doesn't say, I'm in charge, I'm in control, no one else has anything to say about this, I'm going to do it all myself, and all of those things. No. They are absolutely in a space where they're able to collaborate, they're able to say, I don't know, and they're able to activate that web, the web of support, the web of the soul tapestry that draws on resources from elsewhere. So have a feeling for yourself. Now, what is it that I might need? Now, just a reminder that I do one-to-one sessions, so I do North Star sessions, which are one-to-one, and they are literally about like finding your North Star, finding that direction. So if you're feeling like, I need that some support right now, you can absolutely book those on my website. But what we're going to do now is we're going to look at your rune, the rune that you're working with right now. And it might be that when you look at that and you say, okay, I'm working with this rune right now, you used to say, oh no, how does that rune relate to what we've just been discussing around gratitude or around challenges or support that I might need? So have a little feel into that. I'm just going to turn off the heater, which is behind me, and I really don't need it anymore. I'm very hot. And I am going to invite those of you who are here with me live to share the rune that you are working with at the moment so that we can do our stay and play readings. If you're watching the recording, it is worth listening to this part. A lot of people have said to me that they gain more access to their runes through listening to these readings, because they're quite specific, because they're honed towards a particular person. So they can give you some subtle nuances about the rune. Grace says you've got Oaz rune to the left and pointing up. So is it like a sort of diagonally there? Grace, sort of pointing upwards but to the left, so it's sort of a little bit wonky. How interesting. So look at that. We have got Meggie with her Northers rune. They really want to come through a lot. Let's put Meggie down with Northers. We've got Suzanne with Keeners. So yeah, share your runes and I'll start going through as we are working together. So let's look at Grace's Ewaz. So Ewaz is the rune that looks like a M. People can get confused and they can think it's the M rune, but it's not. It's the E rune, Ewaz. Here we go. This is what the Ewaz rune looks like. So it looks like a M. The way that I remember is I put it on its side so that it sort of looks like a big capital E. Lisa, you've got Perthrow, thank you. And yeah, it's quite different in its energy when it's shaped in different ways. So the Ewaz rune, when it's standing upright, I can feel that we were talking about the web, weren't we? We were talking about that sort of web of support with you. So what I'm feeling into for this is, I wonder if this has come up before for us, Grace, I'm not sure, but it's that sense of when we're part of the web of support, there can be times when others lean into us, they draw on our energy quite heavily. And we are there and we support them because the whole web flexes so that each individual has the support that they need. That's the way that, you know, we should work as a society. But if it's not reciprocal and there comes a point where you are struggling or you need support and the web doesn't have enough energy within it to support you, then that can be a challenge. And I often think that when the Ewaz rune comes up, it can be saying to us that if you're in a good place, what are you doing right now to mend or to enhance or to strengthen your web? In coaching, we talk about this as being sort of we call it conscious network design, which does what it says on the tin, but I like to think about it as sort of collaborative web weaving in a sense. So it's almost saying if you're in a good place, and this is for everybody, I don't think this is just for Grace. If you're in a good place and you're going, I feel supported right now, and my energy levels are quite high, everything is going well for me, and I don't need to lean in to my web of support, that is the perfect time to nurture your web of support. And that doesn't just mean going out there and going, who needs help now? I have energy available. Who needs help? It's saying, where are the areas in my life where I currently have the support that I need, and where are they not? And going out and creating new relationships. So you might think about it with health, with finances, with, I'm looking at my spiritual side. It could be anything that you can then use, sort of say, okay, now is the time for me to start looking for my sponsors or my mentors or my teachers or my collaborators in order to prepare. This is why I think that for you, Grace, possibly your Ewaz room was slightly wonky, as it was saying, excuse me, you're absolutely good, in terms of that, the energy of collaboration and partnership and being able to lean into it and lean out, knowing when to lead and when to follow and all of those things. But maybe now is the time to sort of tend to that network a little bit and say, who else might I like to invite in? So I'm going to leave you with that one when we feel into Maggie's North's room. You've done the North's room before, Maggie, haven't you? Is it one of your birth runes, I want to say? It feels like very dancey to me today. I don't know why. Maybe it's because we've just done the Ewaz rune, and I do think that the runes come in the right order. But it's speaking to me of almost like sort of burning down one side of my body and not down the other. So here's the North's rune for people who don't know the North's rune. So the North's rune, interestingly actually, that the two runes that we've got first, both of them are very related to Gebo, which we've talked about, the gift-giving rune. So Ewaz is another rune of partnership, but it's much more about instinctive partnership. Gebo says, I did this, therefore I expect that to happen. It's like contractual in many ways. Ewaz, no, I'm not interested in that whatsoever. It's just like, it's like the flexing fluid partnership, where we don't all give and receive equally, but we're all supported through that. Now, North looks like the Gebo rune, but it looks like it's been almost like two threads that have been knotted together on the great tapestry, and then one of them's been pulled so that the cross has gone wonky. And that's where the tension or the friction can come from. And it can be because we have been tied down or constrained in too many ways, and our soul path is calling us in a new direction. But there are too many commitments or ties that are holding us to, it's like we're not able to support the next flowering of the soul path, because we are bound to the previous iterations, like the previous flowerings. And I can feel that, Maggie, it's almost like there's part of you that sort of wants to sidle through a doorway, like their sort of shoulders going this way just a little bit, and there's sort of some opportunities over there. And there's that pull, that sort of tug. The place where it's bound, where the energy feels dark to me, is the way that I would see it. If you think about the North's rune here, it's almost like this, for me, this part here is sort of lit up, it's sort of pulling and saying, go this way. Where it feels constrained to me is down beneath the Northeast rune, it's almost like that sense of being rooted to the land, rooted to the ground, rooted to place, that feels a lack of like fertile soil. So there's something there about looking at place as a means of release. So I don't know whether that might involve some travelling or some like connecting to different lands energetically, in order to expand your soil. I remember when I was pregnant with my first son, I wanted to bring in blessings for him from as many different places as I could, and I literally did a sort of tour around the UK to build the land web for him that was bigger than just where we were in the centre. I felt quite powerful to do that, to sort of say, I asked for the blessings of this place on him. Did a sort of pregnancy tour, let's say. It sort of feels a little bit like that in some way, Maggie, is all I can say. So when you go to different places, see what you can draw on, see what sort of fertile energy you can draw on, and just pay attention to that. It feels sort of dusty in some ways, the only way that I can describe it. That your roots need more. Your roots need more. So I'm getting with your Northeast rune there. Suzanne, you've got your Kinaz rune, haven't you, which we love. For that sort of creativity, which is your focus rune, and Yera is your shadow rune. So we're going to look at Kinaz for you, the rune of creativity. Here we go. Here's Suzanne's Kinaz rune. Oh, it's funny, it feels quite spacious to me. Often when I feel the Kinaz rune, and particularly as I've just worked with the Northeast rune, perhaps that's why I'm feeling more air. There's more words. And again, there's a releasing there that's happening for me. I can see colours. I can see sort of wool, which I'm not sure if you actually work with wool. Do you work with wool ever? It is that spirit of innovation, I think. That little bit of, what are the things that I've worked with before? And I want to feel freedom. That's what I'm feeling with the Kinaz rune, is this sense of freedom, of the need to be free. And there's also, I think, with the Kinaz rune, this sense of it is absolutely fine to spend time communing with your Valkyrie, with your guiding spirit, to receive that inspiration and not immediately acting on it. It sort of feels a little bit like, maybe, I don't know if your process is a little bit like, it comes in and then it's like, I'm going to express that now, like in the moment. But it is that embracing of the spirits of air and embracing of ideas, and recognising that as being part of the creative process. And almost like that the forge wants to be, it needs to be aired. The forge wants to be aired. So it's sort of saying, go out, try new things, let the place where you normally forge have some space, is I think what it's saying. So there might be some similarities to Maggie there about sort of going out, but for me it's about that the space of the creative space wants airing, literally, as far as I can tell. And for you to allow that to happen and to be okay with that happening. And I can feel a little Valkyrie sort of whispering there as well. I hope that's helpful, Suzanne. It's interesting. But yeah, I'm not picking up on the fire that I would normally associate with Kinaz. And it doesn't feel bad. It just feels different. It feels different, like it's you need to sort of go in and literally allow the oxygen to fill your lungs so that you become like the bellows that then will bring the fire back into the forge later. So I hope that's helpful to you. So yes, hello Swan Shiatsu. So I'm saying you're brand new here. For future references, everyone pulling a rune. Yes, so you pull the rune that you're working with and then share the rune that you're working with for me. I think we have got time, because I've got 2 more readings on here on the slate, so I think that we've got time. So let me know if you're not able to do that, and I can draw a rune for you. So that will be fine. I will do that for you today, because it's nice, isn't it? When it's somebody's first time and you don't know, it'll be mean not to help. So Lisa, you have got your Perthrow rune. And immediately I'm feeling that water energy now. Whereas with Kinaz, it was really interesting to feel that as sort of airy lungs and breath. And I can literally hear like the bubbling of water as I'm looking for the Perthrow rune, and also the rushing of water. Here we go, there's the Perthrow rune. I can see sort of rushing waters going over rocks, and it almost feels like I'm submerged in some way within this experience of Perthrow. It doesn't feel panicked in any way. It doesn't feel like I'm being washed away, but it feels curious and interesting. And I think perhaps there's that sense of, the Perthrow rune can be the flow of weird, and the things that come unexpectedly, opportunities that come unexpectedly, new events that can come up. And it's almost saying it's absolutely fine to not know how you feel about this, to not make a decision straight away, to actually just be in the moment going, oh, this feels different. And that's all I need to know. What I'm sensing, I'm just going to tell you what I see, Lisa, because it's very, very vivid, is almost like a water spirit, like Jenny Greenfingers or somebody like that, raising its head up out of the water and sort of looking round to decide whether it's safe or not. And I don't know whether you are that spirit or whether it's like a spirit of place somewhere near you that has decided to put its head up over the parapet and to say, are these humans to be trusted? Maybe they're to be trusted. I can imagine you being a spring tender, in that sense. But it could also be a part of you. It could be a sort of wild part of you coming back to the surface. And just sort of saying, I'm going to just take my time and look around a little bit there. Tell me what you bring from that, Lisa, because it was very, very vivid. And sometimes you just have to say what you see, don't you? And let me see. So then Carol, have you got the Airwise rune as well, or did I imagine that? One moment, I'm just going to go back because... no, I didn't. Wasn't the Airwise rune at all. Apologies. That was the Rado rune. I don't know why I put that down as Airwise. So Carol, you've got the Rado rune. Now I'm just seeing a road going past the spring, but it's leading somewhere different. I can see the sort of horse pounding, and what with Rado I'm reminded of is in some of the translations of the rune poems, it talks about Rado. It talks about like the saddle and the importance of the saddle and how the road can be hard if we don't have a saddle. And that's sort of what's coming through here. It's saying whatever journey, the journey is happening. There we go. There's our Rado rune. The journey is happening. You are there, experiencing it, and sometimes all we can do is make sure we've got a good saddle. It's what can I do to care for myself, to make this journey as comfortable as possible, to like bring everything that I need. It's almost sort of saying. Be the person who brings too much stuff. It reminds me of I went on a retreat earlier in the summer, and I'm not a massive camper. I like camping outside in my garden, but I don't tend to sort of go to lots of places for my camping. And I thought, I'll do this, and I'm going to research and see what everyone brings. So I just had my the bare minimum stuff for me, but I want to take the children, so I was like, I need to know more. And there were a few tents where literally there was the tent. They had the fairy lights, they had the little picnic table, they had the stove, they had the sort of awning that the stove could go under. I mean, honestly, the list could go on of these. It was like there was a lady there and she was just like, this is my palace. She's like, this is my tent palace. And it really was. It was amazing. And I was a bit like, wow, that's a lot of stuff to pack in the car. But it's a little bit like that. It's a little bit like sort of saying, don't let anybody tell you what you need and what you don't need, and that and don't do the I'll be okay. It's fine. I'll manage without it. So if there's any of those moments where you're sort of leaving the house and you're a bit like, I should bring a jumper, and then you go, no, I'll be fine. No, bring a jumper, Carol. Bring it. And I know that sounds incredibly practical. But it's sort of about applying that to everything through the course of this month. So anything that you're asked to do, or, if you're supporting somebody else even, sort of just say, okay, let's just pause. So it's that thing about the pause before the journey that's going to make the journey much easier. So you can say, what do I need in order to make this journey quicker, more efficient and more comfortable? Are the 3 questions that I would ask myself pretty much every time you to decide to do anything at this point. Okay, so that's our Rado reading. So this one is saying, la 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 la. where have we gone? I've lost myself on the page there. Oh, your name's Nikki. Lovely to meet you, Nikki. Lovely to have you here too. Oh, you've just bought a rune set. Yay! And you haven't cleansed it yet. So let me pull a rune for you then. I'm just going to bring all of the cards together. So for these are my rune cards, and I really only use them for these lives now. I used to do these as my rune of the day, but I haven't been for a little while now. But when I did them as my rune of the day, I used to sort of put the pack like this and feel into it, and I'd feel my fingers tingling just a little bit. And then as my fingers came closer, I would have one of the cards would feel like it was lighting up. So I can feel a sort of orange light. I can sort of hear the little buzzing of bees a little bit there as well, which is interesting. Okay, this is the one. Here we go. Oh, and there we go. It's the Yara rune is the one that you've got, which has come up before. I think, Suzanne, you said that it was your shadow rune, didn't you? So we've got the Yara rune. And I'm thinking about bees, and I'm thinking about hibernation. Bees hibernate, don't they? I'm not going mad. They hibernate. They go into their hives and they hibernate when it's cold. Tell me if I'm wrong on that front. But that sort of seemed important. It was that sort of buzzing, and that is a contentedness that I sensed with this. And the Yara rune, to me, I find it really interesting because it brings together these two wings. You can see this as being the wings of summer and winter, but also you can see them as being the wings of ice and fire. Ice and fire are the primal elements, so they're incredibly fierce and powerful and potent. But when they come into the Yara rune, they find an equilibrium that is unshakable. You know, it's really unshakable. It's that what I'm getting is it's the difference between us saying, like, if you had the Uru's rune, which just happens to be the next card, if you had the Uru's rune and there were challenges in life, you might be like, right, I can power through. I have the will to survive, and I will prevail. And it's that pushing energy. But that's not what I'm feeling. I'm feeling the get on with it energy of the bees. You know? That when there are no flowers in the immediate vicinity of the hive, they're not going, alert, alert, red alert, vacate the hive immediately. No, they'll send the scouts out to find where the flowers are, and then they'll send the messages back so that others also come and they'll change it. And then, but potentially, if they find that the area that they are in doesn't have the resources that they need, then they might decide to relocate, and the queen would do it. But it would be and now we're going to do this type of energy. So in some ways it's similar to Carol's and Suzanne's, actually, wasn't it? There was a gentleness and a slowness of not even patience necessarily, but it's a different type of tenacity that says, yes, over here it's crazy with fire, and over here the ice is super, super cold, but right here in the middle I'm able to take in all of those things and then take my decision from sovereignty. So there is a patience here, and there is also a real blessing from Yara for the path ahead. No, it's that what's the word for you, I think, Nikki, it's saying take a moment, take a pause to really feel into whatever the new adventures are. I know you've said about the runes, for example. Take a moment to feel into what are my desires at this point for this path? What is it that I want to draw in? And then put that out into the universe, you know, with the Gebo, the sort of gifting. What is it I want to receive? Put that out there. You might journal on it, you might speak it, and allow yourself to get that sense of excitement that comes through with it. And then as we get to the full moon with Manaz, which it does have a strong resonance with Yarafil. Manaz is the sort of the individual, the sovereignty of the individual. Yara feels to me as being like the sovereignty of everything, really, you know, like of the world, doing its thing. Let yourself offer gratitude as if you've already received the things that you desire. You know, as if it's literally just that the wheel is still turning, so they haven't quite arrived, but they're there. You might be on this wing, you might be in the wing of winter, and you're going, oh, thanks so much for the things that I can see coming from the wing of summer as the wheel turns, and I'm there to receive them. So it's offering gratitude as if you've already received the things that your heart desires. And I think that is an excellent place for us to complete our Magic in Mind session, New Moon session. So thank you so much to everybody who has joined me live for this session, and for everybody who has joined me on the recording. Please do, if you're on the recording, do hashtag replay. Let me know what you took from this session. If you go and you do a little bit more on the exercises that we have done around the Sage and the Healer and the Seer and the Magician and the Mystic, do pop in the chat box and let us know how you are travelling with them. I am so looking forward to sharing the next Star Crafting Challenge with you, which will be coming up. It's the Destiny Keepers. We're looking at the planets through this coming week. Totally free here in the hearth space for you to do that challenge. And anything else that I want to say, and we'll be sending out our email with all of the events that are coming for the month ahead. That will be coming out over in the next couple of days as well, so make sure that you are on the Magic in Mind newsletter for receiving that too. Lots of love to everybody, and I will see you very soon.